Welcome to Magic Arcanum. I'm Ryan Gomez. On your screen is Nicole Letson, and we're so glad you're here because... Tell them why, Nicole.
It's story time.
That's right. We asked you guys to submit questions for our first ever AMA. That's an Ask Me Anything, or in our case, AAA, Ask Arcanum Anything. We're going to go through as many of your questions as we can, but we want to keep this video nice and compact, so we're not going to get to all 230 whatever there were. We're going to do as best as we can, and anything extra, keep your eye on Twitter and magicarcanum.com because we'll try to answer some there as well. And if this video does really great, why wouldn't it? We might even do a second volume just to answer some more of the AMA questions. But for today, we're just going to get through some of our favorites and try to end the year here, or start 2021. Actually, by the time you're watching this, it will probably be the next year already. We're going to try and start things off on the right foot and get things going for you. So we appreciate everyone who took time to ask a question. We had a lot of fun looking at them. For today, Nicole is going to read the questions off. I do not know which ones she has picked. I do not know what order they are coming in. So I'm going to do my best to answer and keep up with her. She's got them kind of scripted out on her page. But we are, making this up as we go. Obviously, I'm in my studio, but the layout is a little different here. We're recording a call through Skype, which we've never done before. So fingers are crossed on both ends, and hopefully this all comes together and you guys enjoy it. As always, leave us a comment down below. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the great stories you'll only find here on Magic Arcanum. And with that said, let's get things going. What do you got for me, Nicole?
All right, let's start with something spicy because who doesn't like spice? Let's see. Who is your favorite Magic the Gathering villain? Or do you have multiple favorite villains spanning across the story?
Right, so my favorite villain is Nicol, right? The Elder Dragon. He's been scheming things for millennium. He's your namesake. There's just something great about that arch nemesis who has been part of every story, in some way, moving pieces behind the scenes. I thought he was a really great part of the Magic mythos, having that evil dragon out there. And I'm kind of sad to see him now at the end of the War of the Spark story, kind of shelved, but I don't think we've seen the last of Nicol, which is great because he is my favorite villain.
Wonderful. Let's go from the big in Nicol to something a little bit smaller. What is your opinion on Guttersnipe? I know you have one.
I do. Great question. So Guttersnipe is a 2/2 for 3 mana, and whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, he deals 2 damage to each opponent, which makes him much better in multiplayer formats like Commander. He's probably great there. If you've got 3 or 4 opponents, he can rack up a lot of damage, and nobody's going to waste a kill spell on your 2/2. But if you're just playing regular one-on-one Magic, it's a lot harder to make that guy work, because if you play him on curve, turn 3, he's only a 2/2. You got to wait another turn probably before you can untap and throw a lightning bolt or something and get his ability to trigger. And so I try to avoid cards like that require multiple turns worth of setup or to get that investment to pay off. So in the right type of deck and in the right format, he can do some really great things. He can just rack up damage. But one-on-one Magic, I would leave him out.
Absolutely. No one likes to hold cards in their hand. So it looks like this question ends with, do you and Nicole ever create your own cards? Personally, I'm not a big fan of creating my own cards. I like to leave the creativity to the experts. But what about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I've never really gotten into the custom card creation, although I do watch some people like on Twitter and on Reddit, and I follow those threads. I think they're really interesting. I have not yet thrown my hat into the ring as a card designer, although maybe someday, it could be a fun challenge.
We have a few big fans of custom cards in our Discord group, and those are always exciting to see.
Yeah, I love it.
All right, let's get into some actual stories. That's what we're here for. Let's see. Do you have any bad beat stories that haunt you to this day?
So
Ryan?
I think one of the I've talked about the time that I had Spear of Heliod and Bow of Nylea out, and my brother hit me with a wear and tear and managed to break both of those with one card. That was pretty insulting. I try not to hold on to the bad beats that I receive. I do like to think about the ones that I have given. And one of my favorite, if I could just real quick, I was playing Commander with a Nicol Bolas deck, oddly enough. My brother, the same wear and tear one, had made that deck for me as a birthday present. I didn't know what cards were in it, and I sat down to play with a pretty new group of people. So a whole lot of unknowns coming together here. And the first several turns of the game, I didn't really do much. I was focused on what the cards were and trying to get a feel for how people were playing. The guy to my right, I think he was playing Shu Yun, the Silent Tempest. So a red, white, and blue deck with lots of cheap spells and things like that. He kept saying, like, are you going to do anything? Do you even know how your deck works? Are you even in this game? And he was just talking a lot of trash, basically. So eventually the turns come around and he's like, all right, I'm going to pass my turn and we'll just skip over Ryan because he's not even really playing. And at that point, I was like, as a matter of fact, new friend, here's how this turn's going to go. I'm going to start with an end step overloaded Cyclonic Rift, which returns everybody's permanents to their hands. Oops. And then on my turn, I'm going to play my commander, Nicol Bolas. And I happen to have, I forget if it was like Lightning Greaves or the Boots, whichever one gives them haste. And now that all of your cards are back in your hand, I'm going to attack you with my Elder Dragon, who makes you discard your entire hand. Oh, I'm sorry. So that was a great bad somebody else. And that's how you should always do it, you know?
Absolutely.
I did not get invited back for a second game with those people. I'll just leave it there.
No one shows up Ryan at the magic table.
No one.
Ever. All right. Well, that was a fun story.
Thanks.
Let's see. Let's go into a different kind of story and talk about your favorite Magic storyline. Do you have just one, or are there several?
You know, I think the Ixalan story was really great, and I've seen a lot of people kind of agree to that. Jace rebuilding his character, getting to see Vraska out of her normal assassin role and being a pirate captain. There was so much weird stuff happening there, but those characters really grew a lot over that storyline and had some really great writing and some really tender moments in there that could only take place, in a magical setting like an island where the immortal sun is keeping everyone trapped and forced to deal with their problems. Usually planeswalkers can just get away from their problems, but this setting kind of removed that from them, and that let them kind of tell a story in a really interesting way. So I think that is, for me, the definitive best Magic storyline. Second to that, if I'm allowed to pick a second one, is the Davriel Kane's story written, but that was kind of like a short novella. It wasn't really part of like the larger Magic mythos. It was more of a standalone thing. But Brandon Sanderson did a fabulous job introducing that character, and then he got his first card in War of the Spark, and I'm excited to see where that character continues to go based on what we've seen so far. But in terms of payoff for existing characters, certainly the Ixalan storyline had a lot going on.
I'll give you that one with Davriel because I also want to know what's going on and I want to see more cards.
Yeah.
So I'll have to give you that one. You get two. All right. Going into a little bit of a different direction. If anybody's watched a channel trailer, Ryan talks a little bit into about other card games that he plays as well. And he hits several card games in the beginning. And this person wants to know, which of those card games do you still play regularly?
Do I play regularly? So the past year, it's been kind of hard to get out of the house. Hard to find people to play some of these. There was a couple like dead card games on there. The Game of Thrones card game, Star Wars card game, those don't really get played so much anymore. But Magic, certainly. Gods Unchained, which I had the first promo for in front of one of our other videos. I really like that game. Hopefully I get to talk about that more in the future. And Pokemon is also a fun kind of every other weekend or so. I'll just boot it up and see what's going on, get some different kind of aesthetic in my life. It's a little more cheery and fun to just kind of have something different. So those are kind of the big three out of that list that popped up in that channel trailer.
That's awesome. I mean, I wouldn't expect you to get out this year.
Yeah.
I'm glad you didn't. So this next one is kind of a lot, but I think it's really neat. So somebody wants to know, what have been your favorite moments on the channel so far since you started the new channel, and what has been the most wow moment? I wish I could answer, but every single thing that happens is a wow moment for me. I'm just excited by everyone who shows up every single day to just be excited with us. So
yeah, the comments that we got, the questions for this AMA, there's so many cool things. Hitting our first, I don't know, 1,000 subscribers was like proof that this was going to be okay and we were going to make it. And then we hit 10,000, and then now we're just shy of 40,000. So we've only been doing this, what, a year and change?
Just about.
And we're growing at a pretty good clip. I'm happy with how that's coming together. The real wow moment was when I launched the Patreon, and I had no idea if people were going to, put their own money towards seeing me talk about stories and cards and things like that. And sure enough, people did. And thank goodness for that, because that allows us to do fun stuff like this. So realizing that the community had my back when I needed it the most, and we'll probably talk why about that a little bit later on. But those moments when even if it's just a little comment like, hey, I love what you're doing, hi from Brazil or Peru or Germany or the Philippines. We've got people all over the world who are watching and listening to story time. And that every morning I wake up and I'm like, oh, it's story time. Who am I going to talk to today? What's going to happen today? Where we're going? And it's just been a real delight for the last, 18 months or however long we've been at this.
Yeah, it's never uninteresting to look in the comments and just see who's there commenting from where and putting their little piece of their opinion into what we're doing. And it's
and we really do read every comment. So
oh yes, every single
one.
one.
The channel being this size, we can still read every comment, and boy, has it been fun.
Most of the time. Sometimes there's comments. We won't talk about those. All right, so somebody else wants to know if there's a 1-question limit, and for our patrons, absolutely not.
Right.
So first question, what are your top, annoying commanders? The one you sit down to the table and you hate seeing them across the table.
Probably Urza. That one, the person's going to be up to something, and it's just a matter of waiting until when. And I also, from a design point, I don't love the ones with the eminence ability. So that was like Edgar Markov and the cat, Aribo, I think. Because they still function in the command zone, that just makes it really hard to interact with those guys, and you just kind of feel like you're at a disadvantage if your commander only works when they're on the battlefield. Like they are playing on a different level than you are once they have one of those. So those are my least favorite to come up against.
And not only that, but then if they steal your commander when it is out, that's even worse.
Yeah.
Now you've got nothing. Then the second question that this person has submitted is, I've been reading and hearing a few people saying they don't like planeswalkers in general, or that the War of the Spark planeswalkers are too much. What are your thoughts on planeswalkers? I wasn't around when they came into the game, so I know my feelings are a little biased towards it.
So I will say first that my favorite format is Pauper, where there are no planeswalkers.
Yes.
So you can infer from that what you will. War of the Spark did some interesting things. The static abilities on those planeswalkers were what tripped people up because they were not used to having to watch for those. But overall, I think I liked a lot of those designs more than the other planeswalkers, mostly because they all had negative loyalty abilities and no way to gain more. So they would show up, they would help you for as long as they could, but eventually they would either get knocked out or you'd use up their last ability and they would leave. And that kind of helped put the focus back on you and your spells rather than here's Teferi and he's now going to win me the game, right? That to me always felt like you were handing your own fight over to another person to fight for you, which didn't really gel with how you're supposed to be this powerful planeswalker yourself, taking care of business. So I do like a lot of the War of the Spark designs, and I wish, frankly, that there were more planeswalkers like that had only negative abilities and had kind of a clock built into their own existence. That'd be probably better for the health of the game.
I definitely enjoy them. Anytime I see one of them come out, I always say, it's all right. They were meant to die. So they come out, they do their thing, and then they go away, and makes everything better.
Yeah.
All right, so it looks like Dustin has submitted, what is y'all's favorite types of decks to play? As well, what are y'all's plans for the next year? So for plans for the next year, we'll probably hit that a little bit later, but I would love to talk about our favorite decks.
Sure. So mine are usually like a green-black, typically called a rock deck. The idea is that it is the rock against which all other decks in a format are tested. So Someone else has a paper, someone else has a scissors. You're the rock. And green and black just, to me, bring really good creatures and really good removal to get your opponent's creatures out of the way of your better creatures. And that's how you win. You just keep attacking with an army backed up with doom blades and, go for the throat and stuff like that. It can be really vicious. It can be aggressive. It can be more of a mid-range or a controlling build. So there's a lot of flexibility within those two colors and how you kind of pick your game plan. It works in almost every format. I've got commander decks on those colors. I've got pauper decks on those colors. I've got standard decks and everything in between. So that's where I'm most comfortable playing, is probably in a black-green kind of shell. But, I've played them all. What's your favorite, Nicole?
I think I have a lot of decks that I think are my favorite. And I think it might just be that I love watching them played. Yeah. Like Mono Green Stompy is one that I will never get sick of watching played. Sure. And just watching them kind of grow these giant creatures. But I've recently had an awakening within myself, and I think I'm an aggro player.
Oh, yes. You've been doing quite well in the Pauper tournament that we host on the Arcanum Discord, where you won the first season with your brilliant red aggressive deck. So this makes sense.
That is true. There is just something about red deck wins that I can't stop. It's fast and it's gnarly and it's brutal, and you just see them draw cards and nothing's there. So yeah. It's a wonderful deck, and I don't think I'll be putting it down anytime soon.
Okay.
At all.
So plans for the next year? That was the second part of that question.
Yes, it was.
So as I said, Arcanum has been growing, and we are kind of into a good rhythm here. Right now we're doing 2 or 3 videos a month. We'd like to continue that or accelerate beyond it. We're going to keep doing the major story recaps. Those are our bread and butter. So look for Kaldheim and then Strixhaven, when those ones come out. Then we like to do the Who Is series. We're still working our way through all the Planeswalkers. The lore rankings have been really popular, so we're going to try and do some more creature types in there. And then beyond that, we've still got things like a history of, or, for special holidays, like we did our Black Friday, the great deals. So fun projects like that will slip in there from time to time as well. Beyond that, though, it's really whatever you guys want to see. That's why we keep saying we love your comments. We love it when you message us and let us know what you're interested in, so we can kind of plan for those things and work them into our plans for the future.
When are we getting Phyrexians?
When are we getting Phyrexians? When they are relevant to the current story again. And as of recording this, which is New Year's Eve, there may or may not be Phyrexians in Kaldheim. It is unclear if that is a leak or a plant or a fake card or what. We don't know yet. So if that ends up being the case, then we might have to address them sooner rather than later. If that ends up being not a real card, though, you probably won't see Phyrexians on Arcanum until 2022, by my estimate.
We're ready when the Phyrexians are ready.
Yeah, so we're ready when they're ready. When they show up, we'll play ball. But
till that day.
Till then.
We must wait.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get to the last question that is mildly about Magic, and then we'll go to a weird place. All right, so somebody wants to know, what is your main inspiration for video topics?
So when I started playing Magic, there was a story, but this was like 20 years ago, and I wasn't following it. I didn't know. You had to pick it up card by card, and it didn't really give you any sort of advantage. My goal now is to make it so that anybody starting today does not have to live through the same dark ages I did when I started playing. So that is kind of how we decide a topic, right? It's what's going to be most useful to a new or returning player who is not aware of everything that's going on. We try to pick topics that are digestible, easy to explain within 20 to 30 minutes, and gives you some grounding so that when you walk into FNM, not that you should be walking into places right now in this country anyway, but when you do sit down to play with your friends or new people, new players, new friends like that, you at least have some common terminology, and when they do slam down Narset or Vraska, you at least know who these people are, why they're showing up to fight this particular time, and why the landscape has changed from floating hedrons to snowy mountains to, school or whatever. Getting just kind of that snapshot of the current setting and kind of helping you understand how that applies to what's happening in the game is kind of what drives me to pick a topic.
That's important. I mean, getting more people into it is what we've always wanted to do. So,
Right.
All right. Now, if you could delete a color from Magic, pretend it never existed, along with all the cards that use it, what would it be, and how did your mustache get so awesome?
I see what you did there. Okay, so how did it get so awesome? Well, we'll start with the color thing. I think this might be a hot take. I think Magic could survive without red. So here we go.
I'm a little offended. So let's go into
what
this.
does red have? Red has dragons. You could move those to blue. They are a very intelligent creature. They fly. Blue kind of already covers that already. It has small aggressive creatures. Those all go to white because they already have that as well. And it has direct damage removal, which you could give to black. They have some stuff that can already drain life or deal damage already. So a lot of what red does could be split up into the other colors. Even phoenixes or dragons could also probably be in green, which I know feels a little weird at first, but the whole death rebirth cycle of a phoenix could be a green card. And dragons could be a green creature as well. I mean, they got the scales and everything. I don't know. So I think you'd be okay without red. Mechanics wise, you probably wouldn't lose too much. That's my thought. You're going to say blue, though, because you don't like counter spells or something. Is that what
I mean, I like playing Magic. Anything that gets a card on the table is something that I want to see. And blue most frequently takes my cards off the table. And that makes me sad. So that would be the only reason. I love fairies. I love, a lot of stuff that comes with blue. But I like my cards to land on the table. That's all it is.
Fair enough.
All right, and about that mustache.
Oh yeah, how did it get so great? Well, the trick is you gotta groom it every day. You gotta water it. You gotta take really good care of it. Lots of sunlight, lots of fresh air. That's it.
Mustache 101.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, our final Patreon question, our patron would like to know if they can shave your mustache to keep as a treasured trophy in order to gain your knowledge, or conversely, can they rub it to get luck? Does that work that way?
No, because anytime I'm within 6 feet of somebody, I have a mask on that covers it, so you're not going to be touching it anytime soon, and I can't cut it off or I will lose my powers, just like, a Greek hero, I guess, of mythology or so. Is it Samson with the hair?
Yes, it is Samson.
Okay, that's the same thing, just for my face.
Same thing, but your face. No, I agree. I think we've done a couple of videos with no mustache, and
so I saw some of the other questions. I don't know which ones you've picked, but I know that in that list, people asked why have it, right? And it's because at work, a lot of people, not a lot, but people were bald, but most people had like the full beard. And I was like, I'm going to be bald. I can't fix that. But I have some control over what's going on here. And I don't want to look like everybody else with the beard. So what can I do? And then I saw Henry Cavill in Mission Impossible Fallout with the mustache. And I was like, that's it. I'm just going to do the mustache. That's my inspiration. And then my brother was like, why didn't he inspire you to go to a gym or something useful? Why did he inspire a mustache of all things? So, that's where I'm at with the mustache. I wanted to look different from all the full beard hipster people out there. No offense, but that's it. It's just me. It's just
you have to call Cavill up and thank him for that, because it works. It's working with everything we've got going on.
Right.
So
I'm working on the arm reload thing that he does, where he like pumps his fists or whatever. You gotta see that movie, Mission Impossible, really good. Anyway, next question.
All right, so we finished all of our patron questions. So all of the questions we have from here on out will be submitted through YouTube.
Okay.
There's several categories of these questions, and I'm going to just pull them out and see what we got here.
Looking forward to it.
Since we were just talking about Mission Impossible, last year we learned that the directors of Marvel's Infinity War and Endgame, the Russo brothers, are directing an animated series.
Okay.
What are your speculations in regards to the plot or the story that you would want told?
Man, I thought I had some idea of this, and then I've been watching like Mandalorian, and you think you know where Star Wars is going, and then they do some really wacky stuff. And now I'm hoping that Magic is just as brave as the Star Wars people were with Mandalorian and the shows that they've been working on. I'm going to have to assume, though, that they will not be that brave, and that this will probably be some sort of origin story based around the most popular characters, which we know are Jace and Chandra. And those will probably get some sort of, will they be friends? Will they hate each other? Will they team up and join the Gatewatch? Although that might not even be part of the first season. It might just be their origins and kind of cut back and forth between the two of them growing up and having their experiences as early Planeswalkers, which is a pretty safe and by-the-book way of doing it. Fortunately, the Russos are pretty good at not falling into that trap of giving people the safe and boring way of doing things, as the Endgame movie kind of proved. So hopefully they've got some tricks up their sleeves. I'm not expecting anything that's as dramatic of a pivot, again, as Mandalorian. Why that's on my mind right now, I don't know. But I think it will be a fairly cookie-cutter story to start with the origins of some Planeswalkers, just to get the larger Netflix audience familiar with this universe and how it works and things like that. And then we'll get our twist kind of towards the season finale or going into season 2. We might first see our real big threat. We might learn about Nicol Bolas or something like that, but not until they've gone through some smaller steps first.
Something to keep people hanging on. That makes sense. All right, so talking about what's to come, looking back on what's happened, do you think that more named characters should have died in War of the Spark? Was
Absolutely.
it not enough of a bloodbath?
Right. Well, it was only 3 named characters, I think, right? Dovin, Dak, and Domri.
Yep. Oh.
And Gideon, I guess.
That's
right?
Yeah, true,
Yeah,
Gideon.
Okay, so four characters. That was Magic's chance to really do something bold and different, and since they didn't take that chance then, that's also kind of why I assume that they're going to hold on tight during the Netflix special or whatever, and not let that get too carried away either. But yeah, I would have liked to see a higher real body count during War of the Spark to prove that, we're not like comics. We're not like James Bond, where the hero always makes it through 40 movies or whatever. We're going to have some real stakes here and let characters kind of die and come back and whatever. But they didn't. They played it safe. They got rid of a few kind of ancillary characters, and the game has continued almost as if nothing has happened. So that's bad.
I also find that unfortunate. So from one unfortunate fight to something that would be quite epic, who would win in a fight? The immovable mass called the Eldrazi, or the unstoppable force of the Phyrexians?
Okay, so first of all, you do not actually fight the Eldrazi. They are not there to fight you. We don't know what they're there to do. They just eat things. They are a force of nature. That's like asking who wins a tornado or, Freddy Krueger. Like, he can't, it's not a fight. He can't do anything. For as scary and powerful as he is, the tornado don't care. So even if the Phyrexians were aware of the Eldrazi, and even if they made plans to capture them, subjugate them, complete them, whatever, I don't think you can do that. I think we've only even seen 3 Titans, and we were only able to really beat 2 of those, and that's like with our best A team doing everything they could. So Eldrazi win, but they don't even actually fight. So I don't know how you can even declare them a winner, but that's what happens. They win.
They're not fighting. They're just existing. And it just happens that they're
winners. They just win.
Yeah, they just
exist. By existing, they won. Yeah.
All right, so a little other side take on the Phyrexians, or more accurately, New Phyrexia. What do you think life on New Phyrexia is like for the average citizen? They seem to have culture and humor and sarcastic flavor text all over the place. Yep. So do you think they have relationships in regular lives? And I have to know, do Phyrexian citizens go to the bathroom?
So I think that they would. I think they still have meals. I think their body still has to consume nutrients, and there is still a waste product, even if half of them is mechanized or whatever. Some biological process remains, and a byproduct of that will always be some sort of waste product. as far as everything else, if these people are indoctrinated, enslaved, it is a cult in some sense. So you can look at real world examples of that, and how do people in cults and fanatically devote religions and things like that, how do they operate? They still have a favorite place to get food. They still have relationships with their coworkers. They still have a job and a routine, and they probably need rest and sleep and things like that. So that still does build a life cycle. It might not be one that we would recognize. It might not be one we would think of as being very pleasant. But when your brain is so warped that you are focused on this thing to which you are enslaved or devoted or whatever, you're able to push a lot of that nasty stuff out of the way. And they don't really even see themselves as being the bad guys. They think that they are doing the right thing by spreading their oil and infecting everyone so that they can all join the great machine and be one, right? So they don't even think that it's a bad thing. They don't recognize that their life has become so far removed from what you or I go through every day, but they do still have those human moments, for lack of a better word, because that is a part that the machines still can't really get out unless they're making true automatons, and they're not doing that. So as long as there is some combination of a living element and the machine element, you're going to still have that bit of humanity in there, as twisted and weird as it would be.
There's always going to be some remnant of culture, no matter how far you pull it away from humanity.
Yeah.
And it seems as though we got lots of questions about culture and planes and about how things work. And one of our most liked questions was, we have had Greek, Mayan, Egyptian, and soon-to-be Norse-themed planes. What culture or themes would you like to see a plane built around, and how would this plane theoretically affect the lore of the multiverse? That's a loaded one.
It is. That's a deep one. So one of the cultures that I think would be interesting, although I will admit I am not super knowledgeable about it myself, and this is not meant to offend anyone or be, please don't take this out of context. I think a set connected to Native American would be interesting. So they have really fascinating religion. They have interesting beliefs, their culture, the way that they handled outsiders invading their home, the way that they, structured everything about their life. What I remember learning about it in school was always fascinating to me. And I think that there is interesting stuff there. I know people have also brought up like a cowboys Western kind of a thing, which might touch on that as well. But I'm more looking at, it would be closer to Ixalan, where you had, the merfolk on the island and you had the vampire invaders coming in, kind of more like that, where it's more about people defending their home and their way of life against some other outside planeswalking, in this case, probably force. But there's a lot of really interesting elements of like that religion with like, I don't want to embarrass myself by showing how little I actually know, but things like, the world being on the back of turtles and stuff like that, and the rain dances and trying to influence the weather, and, using the whole buffalo, and like, what does that mean for a magic card, right? Like when a creature dies, can you exile it to get +1 counters on something to like show that it's, you're really harvesting everything out of that death. So I think there's a lot of cool mechanical things you could do there. They had gods. You could bring gods back, and those could look different from any other god we've ever seen before. So I think a Native American or Indian kind of inspired set would be very different and would be fun to explore. That's my pick.
All of those themes definitely slot right into things we've already seen in Magic. So seeing it swung a different way, I think it could definitely be interesting.
It would feel familiar, but would still be unique. Yeah,
absolutely. And it would tell a story that is long needed to be told,
sure.
Whether it's in a game or otherwise. So,
correct.
All right, let's go through a few of these a little bit quicker here.
Yeah.
Let's see. I don't even know how many times we got asked the favorite flavor text. What is your favorite flavor text on any card in Magic?
So that comes from Sarah Angel, where I believe it is follow the light. In its absence, follow her, which is a really inspiring thing. And like when everything is dark, just focus on the lightest thing that you've got. And if there is no light, you look to the next closest thing that can lead you back into the light, whether that's your friends, your family, your hobbies, whatever. I think all of us have some Sarah Angel in our life that can lead us back to the light, and most days that's all you really need.
That's way too optimistic for me, but I love it. All right.
What's your favorite flavor text? Is it hot soup coming through?
I mean, who doesn't like soup? All right. Let's see, real quick. If each member of the Gatewatch had a Pokemon partner, what would it be? I'm gonna slim that down to pick one Gatewatch member, and what would their Pokemon partner be? Probably your favorite.
Well, man, Gideon's dead, but I feel like he would have had a Geodude or a Machamp probably, because those are like, and you can't really crush a Geodude, right? He's pretty much indestructible. So
always ready for a fight. Always never gonna die. It happens that way.
Until he does, but whatever. Liliana could have like, is it Cubone, the little dude with like the skull and like the little,
the little bone.
Right, little thing, bone club. I think it's kind of grim. Maybe a Ghastly or a Haunter, but those are just like ghosts. I don't think
those are givens though.
And there's not really a zombie Pokemon, so little dude. Ralzeric gets Pikachu because it's just
obviously
zapping it.
There's tons.
Jace can have Psyduck.
Is that fair?
I think it's very fair.
Okay, I'll allow it.
I could have given him Wobbuffet, but I'll give Jace Psyduck.
Well, he's blue.
Right. That's a better match. Right.
Everybody loves blue.
And Nissa gets Bulbasaur because she is the best and he is the best, and they're the best together.
It's literally perfect. You can't change it. And it seems as though we got a question from another Bulbasaur fan.
Oh my gosh.
They're asking if you have read any of the older Magic novels, and if so, which one would you love to see re-released?
So honestly, I have a big stack of those novels. Some I've picked up over the years. Some have been gifted to me. Some of them, have just fallen into my life through whatever means. I have not really read any of them because I've been so focused on the current story and trying to keep up with everything that's going on so I can make episodes, that are relevant, like I said earlier, to new players or returning players who are trying to understand what's happening right now. So I have not really given myself the time off to go back and read any of the older stuff, although it is on my list of things to do at some point.
I also have a stack of way too many of those books that I too need to thumb through at some point.
Yeah.
Speaking of new players, though, we got a question about Magic Arena. Do you think Magic Arena is good for the hobby? This person got into Magic because of Arena, and they feel that it's accessible. So how do you feel about it?
Well, accessibility is a huge advantage. We used it for our first season of our Pauper League with our Discord group. I think that went really, really well, and I think there's still some things we can improve for the next season, but it did make the game available in a way that we would not have had. We are spread out all over the country or all over the world in some cases. Getting everyone together to play the game that we all love, that's really convenient. It does have some downsides to it. The meta game, as it were, gets solved, I think, a lot faster. The economy of the game is not ideal. There are some elements to it that people do not really like. But at the end of the day, you are still playing Magic in the comfort and safety of your own home. It has a very nice presentation to it. It looks good. Although some people wish you could turn off the animations and the flashy things, I enjoy that. It does make the game feel more alive and more visceral. And, if I don't have an opponent sitting there to joke around with, at least I can spam your go from the emotes and, feel like there's some interaction. So overall, I think Arena is probably good. Although I would caution that Wizards needs to be careful about how they are structuring things going forward. I would like to see the vault addressed. I would like to see duplicate protection handled a little better, things like that. But like I keep saying, it is still Magic, and that is still something worth having installed on your computer at this point.
I have had so much fun during this year when paper Magic wasn't even a thought, being able to chat with people on Discord and then meet up with them in Arena and play a game, which it wasn't even always that way. And I think it's helped me keep my excitement for the game. So I would 100% advocate for Arena at this point.
Yeah.
And though we're not talking about paper cards, what is a person or a thing that happened in the Magic story that should have gotten a card but didn't. And what are your thoughts of what that card would look like? And I know we are both very passionate about the same one in this case. We've talked about this at length for much too long.
Right. So this is from Eldraine, right? There was one of the knights that they meet in the story, a blue knight from Castle Vantris, a lore mage, which is where we kind of stole the title that we now use all across Arcanum. And that was Elowen, and she was a pretty badass character. She had a sweet like scar across her neck, and she was literally hexproof in the story. Like other spells and magic didn't really affect her at all. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. This would be such a slam dunk card. It's a blue knight, hexproof. Maybe it draws you a card, whatever. And then they gave us Sir Eleonora the Discerning, and I was like, what? Why would you do that? What? The name is like close, and the card is like 5/8 of the way to like what the other one would have done. So that's what I would fix. If I could go back and just kind of Mr. Clean magic erase one card and then reskin it, I would turn Sir. I've now just got him backwards. I would make Eleonora a card instead of, or no, Elowen. I would turn backwards. Eleonora into Elowen. That's what I would do.
And for the things Elowen does in the story, it was absolutely shocking to see that they put a different E letter named knight in that slot when it like, just seemed like such a perfect fit, and you're left shaking the book or ebook, if you will, wanting that card. So
I don't care, the red one, the green one, the black one, those you don't see any of them in the story either anyway, so it wouldn't matter. Like you can name them whatever you want because they were never there. But there was a blue one from Vantris, and it was like, oh god, why would they? Anyway, next question, please.
Next question. All right, looks like we're getting down towards the bottom of our list here, so I think we should hit some of the questions that we know everybody would love the answers to.
Okay.
And we'll start with the chunkiest one first because that's my style.
Uh-huh.
Several people would like to know the story behind starting a new channel and your experiences and journey through and with and away from TCG Player.
All right. Long time coming. I appreciate everyone being patient. There's a lot to this story. I'm going to try to handle it delicately and not throw anyone under a bus. But the long and the short of it goes something like this. I started working at TCG Player in 2013. I was hired to do customer service, and I did that job very well to the point that they promoted me into brand manager. And that let me have access to things like our Twitter account, our social media, Reddit, and most interestingly, the YouTube channel. Now, my background was in film production. That's what I went to college for. I went to the State University of New York at Fredonia, so SUNY Fredonia, if anyone knows it. And I got my degree in film and a minor in film history, as a matter of fact. So I have a pretty good understanding of the technical side of it and the historical side of it, which kind of goes into how I like to tell stories now. So I'm working at TCG Player, and I'm in charge of YouTube. And at the time when I was hired, the company had only about 20 people in it, and our channel had fewer than 5,000 subscribers. Over the next 5 years, we would grow that to be 100,000 subscribers. And we did that by experimenting a lot, by partnering with content producers, Corbin Hostler. We did Mining Modern. We had Corey Baumeister doing Dropping Bombs. We tried to create regular recurring content that was gameplay focused. Again, since TCG Player was a card store, effectively, the hope was you would watch one of these guys play with a deck and then order it from our website. That's A to B marketing, right? Get them to buy the thing that they just saw work. But in the back of my mind, there was always the opportunity to go beyond that, right? What other ways could you connect with an audience and get them to think about buying cards that maybe they would otherwise not? So that's when I leaned into the storytelling and I said, hey, I think I can make an episode or a series where we talk about stories and point out the cards in the stories, and then people can buy them for Commander or theme decks or all these other things that maybe you're not going to see played at the Pro Tour or whatever. But these are still cards people want to have and would like to add to their collection, so why not we talk about them? And so I pitched that idea to my boss at the time, and they said, okay, you can try out that, and we'll see how it goes. So we made the first few episodes of Magic Arcanum were the recap of the saga of Nicole Bolas, right? The Bolas Chronicles, which were part of his when he was the face of the core set. And so that ended up being an 8-part miniseries, as it were. And so we did that, and it worked out really great. And they said, oh, hey, this turned out huge. We got a ton of views, tons of new subscribers. You're killing it. Why don't you keep this going and see what else you can do? And so I kept writing scripts and trying to get them done. And there was some internal pushback about how much time I could spend editing, animating. It was a whole cross-department thing, and it got to be really, really big. And they're like, you gotta find a way to like make this smaller, more efficient. That's when I brought in Nicole to help, and we kind of found ways to like not cut corners, but like what can I do more of myself? How can I not have to ask an animator to do this, and how can I tidy it up? So I tried to make it as efficient as possible and get this thing done, as quickly as I could every week or every other week, whatever we were doing back then. Anyway, so things are going great. Channel is growing. Arcanum is great. John Kapora was putting out pretty decent at the same time. We had some of the best performing videos with Mining Modern, Dropping Bombs. Channel is growing. I am proud to say I had a big hand in taking us from 5,000 subs to 100,000. While all that was happening, I was living in New York. That's where TCG Player is located. Their main office is in Syracuse, New York. That's where Nicole is right now. We were in New York, and my wife got notice that her company, which was also in New York, was going to relocate down to Texas by the end of the year. So I was not worried about this because TCG Player had many other people working in remote capacity. We had developers in some states. We've had event coordinators elsewhere. They even just opened a sort of satellite office down in Atlanta, Georgia, where we had a whole team of people down there. So we were spread out over a good chunk of the country. And so I brought this up to my, again, then at the time boss, and I said, hey, my wife wants to move. Can I keep my job and work remotely? I will find a way to make Arcanum from home. I will keep contributing and doing all my other tasks, which at the time were still social media mostly, some marketing, some support for customer service, consultations, things like that, right? All the things that I'm doing here in Syracuse, I believe I can do down in Texas. What do you say? They told me, fine, not a problem. Don't worry about it. You've been with us 5 years. You have achieved a lot of great things here. We do not want to see you walk away from any of this. So you're good. With that in mind, my wife and I planned out how we were going to move, sell the house in New York, buy a new one in Texas, get all of our belongings down there, this whole thing, right? We get it all planned out, thinking that I would still be employed by TCG Player. Then, on Friday the 13th of September, I remember it vividly because that morning I had published the last video I would do for TCG Player, which was what happened on Eldraine. Put it up that morning, went to take my lunch break, came back, and my boss asked if I could join him and a member of HR in the conference room. I sat down with them, expecting them to say, here's how we're going to move you. Here's the equipment you can take, or, some part of the moving package. And instead, they said, your services are no longer required. And that was it. They walked me out of the building. I didn't really get to say goodbye to anybody. I didn't get to clean out my own desk. I didn't get to finish responding to comments on the video that I had just posted. So it kind of hit me really hard. It was unexpected. But that's sometimes how things are in business. So I went home, felt terrible about it. I also want to point out for the record, this happened on a day Nicole was not in the office. And I feel like that was intentional because had she been there, there would have been a fight. Not between her and me. God, no. But she, we were very close as friends and still are. Thankfully, the 2,000 miles has done barely anything to disrupt our relationship. So I now find myself unemployed after being told for 6 months, don't worry about it. You don't need to find another job. We're going to keep you. They changed their mind on that. And I had to quickly figure out what I was going to do. I could not find another job in New York because I was about 4 weeks away from moving. And I couldn't really get a new job in Texas because I wouldn't be able to start it for another 4 weeks. So what could I do in the meantime? I went home, booted up my computer, created a Patreon, launched the new Arcanum page, and recorded that very first video, What's Happening in Magic Arcanum, on my really crappy webcam. And if you go back and listen to it, I'm sorry, it's super echoey and terrible and embarrassing to see. But it did put a line in the sand. It was me saying, I am not gone. Even though TCG Player did not ever tell anyone that I was gone. They didn't make a post, send out an email, didn't even like tweet it or anything. They just kind of let people wonder if I had a brain aneurysm. I don't know. They never felt that they needed to confirm that I worked there or not anymore. But I committed myself to making this project still work, and I asked if Nicole would be willing to still help with it in her own free time. She still works for TCG Player full time, and then her nights and weekends go to Arcanum, which has become my full-time job. I now do it down here in Texas. I devoted one whole room of our house, which is my studio/office, and I've rebuilt everything up one step at a time to get as close as I could back to having the full production capabilities of TCG Player. So I've had to get my own camera, my own lights, all the stuff that I used to use at their studio, I have now been redoing myself. That is kind of how I wound up where I am, and that's why we're in the situation that we are at. Do I still harbor ill will towards TCG Player? I think they could have handled that better. They could have told me up front that this wasn't going to work. They could have let me say goodbye to some friends that I had made over, it was almost 6 years. I was about a few weeks short of my 6-year anniversary, and I didn't get to say goodbye. I didn't get to, pack my own desk. In fact, HR had messaged me and said, we're going to pack it up for you and we'll ship it over to you. And I said, no, you're not. I don't trust a single one of you. I want Nicole to pack up all of my things. So she did, bless her heart. She gathered up all my crap, put it in a box, and brought it over to my house. In that box was this green cup, which was actually from the TCG Player break room. I had taken it and put it on my desk, and I had used it. And then she packed it up, not really knowing that it wasn't even mine. And now, technically, I stole this green cup. I don't even care. They can come take it if they want it back, okay? It is now a part of the show, part of the legacy that will, and I noticed she has her own green cup now. So cheers to that, TCG Player. I did achieve a lot of great things there. Proud to have done it. I think we're going to do even better. The one thing, if I can, I know this has been going on for a long, long time. The one thing that I am most upset about, when I got that channel to 100,000 subscribers, YouTube sends you the silver play button, like a physical thing. That arrived like a week after I had been booted. I never got to see it or touch it or hold it. There are pictures of other employees posing with this button. They didn't have a show on that channel. They didn't make that happen. So I'm a little bitter I never got to actually see the 100K button. But it's okay, because we're going to get our own sometime in the not too long future. We're at 40K now. We can get to 100, I think. And that will be a real feather in my cap when I have come all the way back around to where I was when I left. When I get to my 100,000 subscriber button here, then we can really start making good videos. Not that we're not now, but that's it, guys. That's why I was not super eager to share that story with everyone. It was a very painful experience, to be honest. I think it has made me a stronger person. I think it has made the show better in many ways, although also given it new challenges that we had to, overcome. But that's where we're at. So, yeah, you can still shop at TCG Player if you want. Nicole still works there, absolutely. I mean, I still have a ton of friends who do still work there. They're not the managers. They're not the people who decided what was going to happen to me. But don't link them to me and they feel bad about them for me. I will deal with them myself. I have been for the last year. I want to focus on where we're going with this channel, what happens next for us. So TCG Player, great bit of history, but for me, it is now ancient history, and I am looking forward to where we go next and what comes next. That's all I will say about that. Okay?
And although it was probably a really rough time for the both of us getting through it, I mean, We've done so many things with the channel that I don't know that we could have done. When we had to report every episode to somebody and we had to submit scripts, we've been able to go crazy off script, not only literally in episodes, but in our Discord with our patrons. We're allowed to just be who we are, and we don't have to be.
The community is much better. We have a much stronger connection with our community because it's not a brand, right? I'm not talking to you on behalf of this company that wants to sell you cards. Now I can just talk about whatever I want. And that's what I want to be doing. So that's where we're at.
It's a good feeling to know some of the patrons by name. And I don't think that would have happened previously. So
true. Very true.
Definitely happy about that.
All right.
So that was a long and epic tale, which has been many, it feels like years, but I guess it's been a year and a little in the making.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that we were able to cover that, at least in its overarching strokes, and get
Feels
everything off of the table. And 2021 will have some crazy things. And amongst those crazy things, what does the channel have? We had so many people asking about 2021. We predicted call time, and people want to know what's coming beyond 2021. What can Arcanum bring into the reel from your brain?
Oh my gosh. Well, like we keep saying, the Phyrexians are the next major threat that will surely need to be faced at some point. I don't know that we're going to get to them really here in this year, but if I had to look forward into 2022, if my crystal ball goes that far in the future, they're the next threat. Who's going to face them and how and where? I don't know, but we'll see.
We'll see. You'll probably predict it long in advance.
I will. Yeah, I tend to work about 8 to 12 months out. So once we get halfway through this year, I'll probably do the predictions for next year. But I need to see what actually happens in Kaldheim. Do they open some sort of bridge to Phyrexia with their Bifrost sword or whatever they're calling it? That's going to obviously set things in motion. But if we get through Kaldheim and there are no Phyrexians, then that tells me something else. So we'll have to see.
Alrighty. Well, I'd love to wrap this up with just a couple more questions, and then I'll pass it off to you to close up the show.
Okay.
We got a couple people asking if we have seen Trey's August rendition of us, of you particularly on Twitter. You as Magic Arcanum.
Yes.
Yes, we have seen it. More than that, we have been in contact with the artist, and we are working on some incredible things coming to you, the viewers, and you, the patrons, in the future. And hopefully we get to premiere that very soon. So that's exciting.
Okay.
And I have received one personal request to give a shout out to Slimefoot. So here is Slimefoot's shout out. Keep on keeping on in the stowaway life. I mean, that's what you're here for.
Card. He's in the right colors, green and black. Make some tokens, use them for advantage. So good.
I personally love the art. I think it's it's one of my favorite art cards. The art on it is just stunning. So I think that's all of the questions we can probably get to today. There are so many more. Yeah. But the day is short.
Okay. And this video is already about twice what we had wanted to keep it to, but that's what happens when you are a long-winded orator and you love telling stories. I get carried away sometimes. Fortunately, we have a great audience that supports us when we get carried away. As I said at the start of all this, like 2 days ago, we will continue to answer some questions where I can on Twitter, maybe on YouTube in the community tab, over on all the various channels available to us, the Magic Arcanum website, which I do not write enough for. We have this beautiful website. That was another thing. People have asked what's coming in the future. We want to do more with that website because it's beautiful. Yes. It deserves to be hosting some of the best written content. If our channel has the best videos, then our website really should have some of the best written stuff. So we're going to kind of focus a little bit more on that going forward. And I'll answer a few more of these questions that deserve good answers on there as well. Anything else you want to add here before we wrap it up, Nicole?
I don't add much to most videos, so you think I have something to add to this one?
Well, how about this? What do you do for Arcanum? Because I know people are curious how you work in the background. What's your side of it? I just gushed for 30 minutes about how I got into my situation. What do you do for the show? Why is our partnership what it is?
Oh, I mean, would you like to hear it from the beginning? The beginning kind of trails all the way through. When you asked me to come assist with the show and to be there to not only help you with scripts, and then we got into the recording studio together, and the hours that had gone by in that studio, the laughter, the tears, the hilarity of everything that happened in there. It's become just a passion of mine to keep contributing to what we're doing and to put it into the community. So I find a lot of my favorite things to do for the channel are things like reading over the script and editing it and making sure that everything is, understood in the best way possible, spending time in Discord with all of our fans and unleashing the horrifying murderous geese on people. If you would love to know the story behind the murderous geese, you're gonna have to join the Discord, because that one is just a gem that nobody could ever forget. So I really enjoy interacting with our fans and seeing those comments on YouTube and seeing people write in and talk to us, and I like to give them back the things that they give and try to be that person who can listen and sort of translate stuff between all parties. So
great. So just to be clear, for everyone who's still confused, Nicole and I are just really good friends. We met at TCGPLAYER. We're not married. We're not even, you know, I'm married to someone else. I have a kid, but it's with somebody else. We are just good friends who get along well and share our passion for the stories behind the cards. So that is it. We have turned that into a really good working relationship where we can make fun projects together. But yeah, there's nothing else.
No, we definitely do see that question a lot, not just when we ask this AMA, but I've seen questions come in previously. So I guess there's the answer to that one. Sorry, it's not exciting, I guess. It works for us. Works really well.
Okay. All right. So I think we'll just end it right about there. I will say once again, thank you all for watching. Make sure you like this video so we know if you want to see more like this, and then subscribe to the channel so I can get that silver play button, because I really, really want it. I deserve it, frankly. You know, I had it once and it got away from me, and this one's going to be even better. So like and subscribe. Make sure you leave a comment telling us, you know, what was your favorite thing that you learned maybe in this video? What question did we really answer well? I don't know.
Or what prompted more questions? If we answered something and now you all of a sudden have 20 more questions.
If you have new questions, leave those as well so I can answer them on Twitter or, like I said, anywhere else. That's it for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Have a happy new year wherever and whenever you watch this, and we'll see ya.